Hey, I hope everybody's doing well out there today on this beautiful Saturday. It is very cold, but we only got a few more weeks to deal with the cold weather till the spring comes. I know it's going into the second week of March, so spring definitely right around the corner. I can't wait personally because I hate cold weather. I just want to welcome everybody just tuning in to another episode of Truckology podcast, and I'm your host, Denzel. Before we get into today's topic, just hit that like and subscribe button. I greatly appreciate it. Let's get right into it. Today's topic, we're going to discuss freight brokers, rates, dispatches, and logistics. So like I told you, I've been driving almost 6 years now and going into my 4th year as a truck driver. I was leasing at the time and I switched back over to company because the money that I was making when I was doing a lease at the time, it wasn't beneficial to me anymore because the market at that point, the market was really going down at that point. You know, everything was shifting. The loads weren't paying as much, and it frustrated me because I wanted to be an owner operator and start my own fleet. Like, you know, that was what I was working towards. So when I ended up switching back over to big company, I started watching videos about freight brokers and logistics and started doing my research on that side of the trucking industry. And I wanted to know what was going on, you know, as far as the rates and why the rates that we normally had was decreasing so rapidly at the time. So I ended up doing research on a lot of different information, you know, and then I ended up coming across how to obtain and get your freight broker license. So I ended up getting my freight broker license right after that, and I was still driving trucks at the same time. So before we go any further, let's roll a clip. This was me one day. I'm at the truck stop, you know, I'm shut down for the night. I'm on my laptop. At the time frame when I told you I was looking forward to being an owner operator, I was taking all the steps to be an owner operator, and I was calling freight broker, just, you know, trying to discuss some of the rates that I was seeing. But yeah, let's get into that, man, and we'll be right back. This looks like a good load. Okay.
Watts Logistics, how may I help you today?
Hey, Mr. Billy, how you doing today? My name is Denzel. I was actually calling because I'm looking on the load board right here, and I see that you have a load picking up out of eastern North Carolina that's going to Riverside, California. I just wanted to call and get some information about that load.
Who did you say this was again?
It's Denzel. Again, I'm just calling about a load that I see you posted on the website about a load picking up out of eastern North Carolina going to Riverside, California. I just wanted to get some information about it.
How did you know my name's Mr. Billy? How do you know I even want to be called Billy?
It says it right here on the website. That's your name.
I'm sorry about that. Well, let's see here. The load that you're talking about that's going to Riverside, California, I actually just booked that load a few minutes ago, man.
But you just posted it like literally 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, right before you called me, maybe 2 minutes before, another guy had called and I booked it to him.
Okay.
But I do have another load in your area. You said you out of eastern North Carolina, correct? Okay, so I do have a load out of that area that's going to California. It picks up Monday morning at 8 a.m. It's a dropping hook. There's about 24,000 pounds going to California also. Do you know an ETA of when you can get it there?
So if it's, let me see, you said Monday morning, it's going to take me maybe about 4.5, 5 days to get there. So probably maybe Friday. So far as the rates, because I was looking at it, as far as the rates, I mean, in fuel, I'm gonna have to fill up maybe 3 or 4 times. So I'm looking at maybe like right at $2,000 for fuel plus the toll. So I was thinking, as far as the load, how much do you think you could pay on it? Because I was thinking, you know, maybe if you could do like $65,000, $7,000 so I could make a profit.
Well, let's see here. The load going to California, I can pay you because I know the price that you just said, it's a little steep, but I am willing to budge. I can pay you maybe a little lower than that amount. I'm willing to pay you $1,500, man, if you could take the load for me.
$1,500?
Oh, I'm sorry, man. That was another load.
Oh, okay.
You said going to California. I'm so sorry, man. So actually for that load, I can pay you $1,800, and within the $1,800 is fuel costs included.
18. Man, I ain't gonna be able to make no money.
Just a second, I got another phone call. You know I trust you, Denzel. Be right back.
Man, what the? So as you guys can see, a lot of these loads do not pay what they used to pay, man. But from my experience being a freight broker and a truck driver, I think it was real unfair to me to see, what these freight brokers were getting paid for the load, to move the load, and the amount that they charge the driver, what they would give it to the driver for. And I'm not discrediting, all the freight brokers out there, because it definitely is a lot of freight brokers out there that are fair and have reasonable rates. But then there are quite a few that are very cutthroat, because this is a cutthroat industry and it is very unethical, but it's not illegal. And a company I was working for, actually they was a medium-sized company, but they didn't have no customer freight. All of their loads came straight from the spot market. So what I would do is, when I go to a ship I'm picking up from, right, I would always leave my business card, whether I had like a business card on hand or a digital business card. I would always leave my business card. And at the time I was going to a cold storage out of Prince George, Virginia, and that was my route. I either picked up in, the bottom of Virginia or North Carolina, and it always went to Wisconsin, which that was a good lane for me too as well, because I told you I prefer to run a Midwest and Southeast, so that worked out for me. And there was a lot of cold storages in Wisconsin. There's a lot of cold storages out of the area that I will also deliver to. So that gave me, time to talk to shippers in the area I was going to. I leave my information for loads. So when I got my freight broker license, I got all my contracts from a transportation lawyer. I went through the whole process. So when I got access to the load boards, I think my first load board was DAT load board. That was one of the biggest load boards I seen, and there was a couple other load boards I was looking at. And I really just started doing research at the lanes at the time, even the lanes that I was running, like back and forth from Virginia to Wisconsin, Wisconsin back to Virginia. And I was looking at the type of equipment that runs those areas, like, refrigerated, dry van, all the other different type of equipments. And that's when I really started getting an understanding of what was going on in the trucking industry and why drivers weren't making, as much as I feel like they could make. So I want to ask all the owner operators out there, do you think having a broker in today's market is better for you, or do you prefer to get direct freight from a shipper? Just leave the comments down below. And I've seen a lot of times where these brokers will send these drivers, they put these drivers on these loads that really nobody else won't, send them to these distribution centers where drivers, such as myself, will be on time for the pickup, delivery. I will sit there hours past my appointment time and never got compensated for it. I know it's still maybe over 10 loads that I did with that company where I never got paid attention for it. So I seen times where I would get paid attention weeks or months later, and I just think that's crazy. I talked to a lot of, other owner operators, because I got a couple friends as owner operators, and they just want to get rid of the freight brokers altogether. Like I said, I can't speak on all the freight brokers or what they're doing. I could just speak on what I seen when I was doing it. And at the time when I was trying to prove myself, to be a freight broker, like I said, I went to the shippers, letting them know, like, hey, I'm a freight broker, but I'm also an experienced truck driver too. And a lot of these shippers were not willing to work with new freight brokers. I've heard a shipper tell me before, when I was in Wisconsin, they don't even want to do business with new freight brokers or freight brokers, period. They have direct customers because they feel like they lost too much money with, the freight brokers. And I don't know exactly what he meant by that. Maybe they were taking too much money off the top of the load. Drivers stopped taking the loads. It kind of messed their freight up. I mean, I don't know. So as I'm sitting around one day waiting to get loaded, I was emailing and calling shippers in the area. This was a day-to-day thing I was doing, and a lot of these shippers were telling me that they were just doing away with brokers, and seeing what the rates, was doing at that time for previous years. I don't think it was a good time for me to even be an owner operator, because I had money saved, but I was real skeptical about buying an older truck, which I know those are the best trucks right now. Me personally, I know that from experience. So me being a new owner operator, I did want something a little more newer, newer to date. Hopefully I could find a decent truck with a warranty. But like I said, looking at the expenses for the insurance and the expenses from the truck and what the rates were at that time, I kind of felt like this would have put me in a hole and probably made the company go under. So I never proceeded to do it. But maybe the market has changed right now. I don't know, because I have no interest in being a freight broker anymore. But all the drivers, leave in the comments below, do you think you get reasonable rates if you are dealing with a freight broker? And to the owner operators out there, is it worth being an owner operator right now? I think personally, if I ever decided that I wanted to be an owner operator again, or anybody that's watching this that's new to it, I think it's very important to have customer freight from a shipper. Now, I know being a new owner operator, most shippers or anybody that you're trying to obtain a contract with, they do require that your MC and your DOT number be at least 3-6 months in age. I know some places is longer than that. No tickets, no violation, everything, any of those things It won't look good on you being a new owner operator, having a company, whatever, because a lot of these companies do run your information through a database. Like it's a FMCSA database. They'll make sure that you're even eligible to even take the load if they decide to give it to you. I really just want to thank you guys for tuning in with me on another Saturday for another episode of Truckology Podcast. I'm about to get out here for the day. We'll be here the same time next week, Saturday at noon. Tune in, same time next week, man. I appreciate everybody, all the truck drivers out there. Again, I love you guys wherever you at across the country, trying to get home. If you haven't already made it there safe, be safe out there, protect yourself. I'll see y'all again next week, and I'm your host, Denzel. I'll holler at y'all, man. Y'all be good, man.